September 11th, 2024. Today, of course, is Veterans Day. And how can we not, as a veteran-owned business who is aiming to better the lives of veterans in our communities, not put out some content, of course, for Veterans Day? And I think that we have, over the years, since we have fought the longest war in our nation's history, I think we've heard what a veteran is. I think we've heard how to thank a veteran. We've heard what it means to serve in the military. And although those things are not easy to forget, nor should we forget, I think that this year's Veterans Day kind of falls at a very, very pivotal time in our society. And I say that because not only do I think we are at a place in our country where we should be thanking veterans and recognizing them for the sacrifices that they've made, but maybe also thinking about and identifying what makes them who they are. Let me explain. You see, we talk a lot about, as I said, what veterans are and what it means and how to thank them and all this other things. But I think one of the things that maybe we should be thinking about this year on Veterans Day are the things that make veterans more unique in their communities, just in our society as a whole. The rigorous training, the psychological mind screw, if you will, and all the things that sacrifice involves. You see, because at the end of the day, what you really have to remember if you are going to choose to don a uniform that reads United States Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, even Space Force, or Coast Guard at this point, you have to remember that you are going to learn that your limits aren't what you think they are. In fact, your limits are a lot higher than you think they are. And the only way to figure out that your limits are higher than you think they are is to push yourself past them, of course. And I think that mentality is sometimes difficult for people to understand. It's difficult for them to take into account when they have to do it on their own. And I think the unique thing about veterans is that when you raise your hand, place it on the Bible, you swear an oath to the Constitution, you swear an oath to this country, and you swear an oath to defend this place against all of its enemies, as we know, both foreign and domestic, that it's going to take some pushing past the limits in which you thought you had, pushing yourself further than you ever thought you could. Now, for some Americans, for some people, they're able to just do that arbitrarily. They have the discipline. They have the gumption to do that. But I also think for many people, you do not understand where your limits really are until you are in a situation like, for example, basic training. I'll give you a small little personal story about myself. The one thing about joining the military that I was always extremely nervous about was running. And if anybody's watching this that ever served with me, you can attest to the fact that I was not good at running long distances. Now, if I was trying to catch you within 2 blocks, I had a decent chance. If I was trying to catch you within a half a block, I had a pretty good chance. But as the length furthered, my ability to keep up or catch you, or even just keep at that pace diminished quite rapidly. But I learned pretty quickly that when forced to push myself past what I thought my body could do, what I thought my mental capabilities were, I found that there was a whole lot of things that I was able to achieve and accomplish that I never thought possible. Not only physically, as I said, but mentally. The idea that I can't go anymore. I'm going to quit. And then you have the people around you that are going through the same hell you are. And you have the people around you that are orchestrating this hell that you're trying to navigate through. And they're not going to allow you to quit very easily. And this is where in the military you learn that it's not about you. It's not just about you. It's about the person in front and behind, left and right of you. And if I quit and if I give up, and God forbid we get to the end of this exercise or the end of this run or the end of this firefight or the end of this road march or the end of this or the end of that or whatever it is, and I still have something left in the tank, and God forbid something happens to one of my battle buddies, it's my fault. Because I possibly could have given a little more and prevented some kind of tragedy or some kind of adverse or negative effect or outcome. And I think like that in particular is extremely valid in the way that we as a country orchestrate our day-to-day lives right now. Just take, for example, and I don't want to get super far into politics. We've been doing that a long time. The election is over now. But I think that we saw the day after the election, and even for the days, even more than just one day after, the days, even now today. Today's Monday. Tomorrow will be a week since the election happened. And people are still freaking out. We have videos of people leaving the country forever, which is great. Good riddance. See you later. We have the pictures and videos and accounts of people crying and carrying on and threatening violence to Trump supporters. And women are divorcing their husbands and leaving their boyfriends and telling them that you're not getting lucky anytime soon. Going on sex strikes or whatever the hell they're calling them. Well, because America spoke. And see, America didn't just speak. America shouted from the hilltops. It was, in my lifetime, it was an overwhelming tsunami of a landslide election victory for Donald Trump. Now, as I've said before, the jury's still out, and it remains yet to be seen if he can do all the things that he said he's going to do. But what we do have in many corners of this country now is hope. It seems that we have a lot of hope, which is a great thing because we didn't have that for quite some time. And so as we go about our day today on Veterans Day, what I'd like you to try to remember is that the men and women who sacrificed everything for the safety and security of this country, for this proverbial blanket of freedom in which we sleep under every night, they had to push past their limits. What they thought was their limits. And men and women all over this country, of all age groups, of all ethnic groups, all cultures, all skin tones, both genders, they all figured it out. My limits aren't as low as I think they are. And also, we like to talk about America as a melting pot, of course, right? Like that's a narrative we've been taught since we were little children. The United States military is probably the biggest melting pot within the melting pot of anywhere else in the world. They recognize 80-something religions and accommodate soldiers for all of those religions, ethnic backgrounds, any kind of accommodations that are needed. Those are made to the best of my knowledge. So when people get up on their podiums and on their soapboxes and talk about how the United States military is racist, and we don't pay attention to the needs of the people around us and where they come from and what they've done, that's complete bullshit. So today, on Veterans Day, remember, of course, as in every year past, it's not just a day for us to get discounts on mattresses. It's not just a day for veterans to get a free meal somewhere. It's a day to stop and think and remember what it took. What it took for us to have the things that we have now and why it's important to keep fighting for them. Especially in a time where we have extremely low numbers, recruitment numbers. We have extremely low retention numbers. And it doesn't seem like we have an overwhelming majority at all of younger people who are busting down the door to join the military. It may be rightfully so. But that doesn't do anything great for us as a whole, as a country. And so I guess that my message today is not for you to go join the military and push yourself past the limits you thought you had, but to remember that these are examples. Every time that you meet a veteran, every time you see one, every time you talk to one, every time you thank one for their service, also think about what that person may have gone through. Think about what it might have been like for that person in particular, if you know them, what it might have been like for them to find out that their limits were a lot higher than they ever thought possible. The limits of our country, as it pertains to us as American citizens, as neighbors, as people, are a lot higher than we think they are. I'd like to say, and I'd like to think, that we as a civilization, a country of people, we're a lot more connected than we are divided. Although right now it doesn't seem like we're very connected. It seems like we're extremely, extremely divided. But not as divided as anyone would want us to think. And if you don't believe me, or you need confirmation of that, just go ahead and get on your little Google machine and look up the 2024 election map. America has spoken. So what does that mean? What does that mean for our country now? I guess I don't know. I don't know that I see families coming back together. In fact, I think families may be even more torn apart. I mean, hell, even people in my family have made it very clear without even talking to me personally that I'm not even welcome in their home. So maybe we won't become closer. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that America will endure. I'm hopeful that we will be able to come to some consensus, that there's some middle ground somewhere. And I'm hoping that all these horrible things that people on the left, if that's what we want to call them, for lack of a better term, the other side of the ticket, maybe we could say. Hopefully over the next few years, they'll see and they'll understand that all this shit that the mainstream media shoved down your throat, that was over-exaggerated, that were blatant lies, half lies, partly true, all that stuff. They'll see the light. They'll see what the truth is. Are we perfect? Are we perfect as a country? Are we perfect as people? Are we perfect as citizens, as civilians? No, we're not. But we're not even going to get close to even going down the road of approaching that if we can't even have a conversation. If we are so, I hate to use the word brainwashed, but if we are so naive to what the truth really is, without doing our own research, without having meaningful conversations to people that we say are important to us, that may think differently, how are we ever going to grow? And how are we ever going to make sense of what's going on around us? Because make no mistake, folks, there very well could be a time very soon in this country where we need to band together for the safety and security of ourselves, of our neighbors, our extended family. What's going to happen when we have some kind of incident, whatever that might be, where it's going to make a lot more sense to be together than it is apart, but yet we can't come together? We can't come together because we're pissed off about the way someone who we said was important to us voted. I think that a lot of people are going to get left out in the cold. And hopefully we choose to be on the right side of history on whatever this situation that may come is. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe we'll stay divided forever. Maybe nothing violent, nothing negative will happen in this country. Maybe we won't need to worry about it. I doubt that that's true. But anyway, of course, we've gotten off the topic of Veterans Day. So I'll close with this. As you're navigating about today, when and if you see or meet or talk to, come across a veteran, and if you decide to thank them for their service, understand one thing about this person. Understand that at one point in their lives, they walked into an office, of course, put their hand on a Bible, rose their other hand, and swore an oath to you, to me, to this country, to defend the Constitution and defend you and I and the rest of this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's just the beginning. But once you leave home and your real sacrifice begins, now is when the work starts. You see, placing your hand on the Bible and swearing oath and allegiance is the easy part, or at least it should be. But once you get your tail on that bus and then on that plane and get to that base, wherever that base may be, for basic training. And the shit really gets real. That's where the work starts. And you have to get your butt up out of bed super early every day. Do your exercise. You shit, shower, shave. Do some more exercise. Get a meal in you. Do some more exercise, some more training, some team building, some waxing of floors, some maintenance, some cleaning up because your stuff got destroyed, whatever it is. There's all kinds of shenanigans that happen at basic training just to teach you that you can take direction. You can work as a team. You can push past your limits. But the main thing is that you can come together. You can come together as a team and you can accomplish any goal. Because really, at the end of the day, either we thrive together or we die together. And so when you see these people, understand that was just the beginning of their journey. And then the rest of their military career could have went in a multitude of different directions. Combat, non-combat, flying, being in a submarine, being on a boat in a tank, shooting artillery, shooting weapons at people, supply, cooking, maintenance, whatever it is. Careers go all over the place. But the one thing that we have in common as veterans, as members of the military, is we all left everything that we loved behind. For the safety and security of this country, we left it all behind for you, for me, and everything else that we love. So maybe we can use those small little lessons that we can learn individually from each veteran that we meet if we have a conversation with them of any kind. Of course, you may run into the one or two that don't want to talk about it, and that's okay. But those little lessons that we might be able to learn, that we can carry into our lives here and now, to maybe help bring us together a little bit closer, to maybe help end this division and this polarization that we see all over the place. I don't know, man. We as a country have worked way too hard. We've worked way too hard to just fall. But I'll tell you what, if falling is what's necessary, then fall we will. And the strong will survive. Survival of the fittest is the natural way through, right? Well, I'll tell you what, if we do fall, and we are in a position where survival of the fittest applies, I'm glad that I'm in the position I am in. I'm glad I'm on the side that I'm on. Happy Veterans Day to any of you who have served, who are serving, that will be veterans soon. Here's a preemptive Happy Veterans Day. To any of you who have family members or friends or whatever, make sure you wish them a Happy Veterans Day as well. Maybe ask them a question or two. Smart questions. Try to learn something from your interactions with these people. Because at the end of the day, all we really have is each other. And our prosperity, our democracy, and our freedom depend on it.